Hi, I'm Christina Applegate.
And I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
And this is
Messy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Messy. This is Jamie. And I'm joined by...
Oh, wait, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna... I thought you were still swallowing your fruit punch. So it was just
That was my tea.
time.
That was my Earl Grey.
Oh, that was your
totally
tea.
Fine. Okay. Yeah, Christina of the Applegates.
That's right. And welcome to Messy. We have a guest today that I've been very excited to talk to ever since I saw the title of her book. Because when I saw the title of her book, I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. Our guest today is a psychotherapist, a licensed clinical social worker, an author, and a meditator. Getting into the mental health space through her own healing journey, she supports people on their journey of returning back to themselves, incorporating spiritual elements with deep shadow work she created, this integrative, compassion-focused approach to therapy, incorporating the mind, the body, and the soul. I found, like I told you, her through her groundbreaking debut self-help book, Are You Mad at Me? Exploring the idea of people-pleasing. I cannot wait for this conversation. Please welcome to Messy, Meg Josephson.
Thank
Yay!
you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. You know, it's like, I think we all wrestle with things, and until we speak them out loud, we assume we are the only ones suffering from them. And in the spirit of Messy and what we do here, it's about giving a voice to those big voices in our head that have narrated things and possibly tainted perspective and reality in many ways. And so first, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, I would love for you to tell us and our guests a little background on you and how you got into this work.
Yeah. Well, what you just said about that, speaking to feelings, I think a lot of us feel very alone in. That's a really big piece of definitely why I wrote the book, and I think why I got into this work. I had really wanted to just put language to a feeling that I think a lot of us have of, are you mad at me? Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? That we feel very alone in. And let's see, I guess we just go backwards. Well, I grew up in a home that had a lot of addiction and volatility and rage. And for me, people pleasing was very protective, and being the good girl, being easy and perfect, and focusing on that felt very in my control in an environment that often felt very out of my control. And so that was definitely the beginning sort of origin story of this sort of work. Then when I left that environment, I was in college at that point, I noticed that those tendencies, which we can get into like what that looks like, but that was still with me, just it looked different, and it was now less useful. So I was wondering, oh my gosh, am I going to get fired because my boss said, can we talk? Or, overthinking social interactions, and just this baseline terror was really familiar to me. And at that time, I was getting really into meditation because I had a really bad concussion, actually. So that was of my gateway into it. It's funny. It's just then it's such a slow process. It's such a subtle process. But over the next 10 years, decided to go back to school, study to become a therapist. And yes, I was thinking I want to support other people. And it was also, for me, it was a reflection of let me deepen my own practice. And those two aren't separate. They are so coincided. And so I went back. I went to Columbia University for grad school to become a therapist, and eventually opened my own practice. Wrote this book, Are You Mad at Me? Because it's a feeling that is so familiar to me, and what I witnessed was that it was so familiar. It was so prevalent in my practice as well, and I just felt like we weren't talking about it too much. So I volunteer as tribute. I will talk about it.
Well, thank God for you. You talk about, I want to talk, so you talk about, we've all heard the term people pleasing, but you talk about it as the fawn response. So what exactly is the definition of the fawn response?
Yeah. So the fawn response is a term that was coined in 2013 by a psychotherapist, Pete Walker. And so it's quite new in terms of language, but it's an old response. It's something that's really in our bodies. It has been for a while. But so our body has 4 responses to a threat: fight, flight, which I think a lot of us are familiar with, freeze, and the 4th one is the fawn response. And so when our body's detecting some sort of threat, whether that threat is real, like there's a lion in front of us or an abuser, there's some tangible threat, or the threat's perceived. So your friend didn't text you back and you're worried that they're upset with you, or someone's being a little standoffish and that feels a little scary. That might be a perceived threat. It doesn't matter. It feels the same to the body. And the fawn response is about appeasing the threat. So what really defines it, it's leaning into the threat instead of away from it. So that's trying to impress it, satisfy it, be agreeable to it. And so the fawn response really says, I can't feel safe until I know you like me. I can't feel good until I know we're good. And in my opinion, it's the only threat response that we are rewarded for in society, or at work or whatever, wherever it may be. And I think that's part of why it keeps the cycle going and can be harder to detect. And sometimes we have to do this. Sometimes we have to fawn, whether it's for a paycheck to please our boss or to survive, within the systems that we have to survive within. But when we're doing it all the time, we're doing it with our best friend who's super safe or our partner who's really loving, that's when it's exhausting and leads to burnout and resentment and a lot of things. So
I have a question. Something that just happened to me recently. I was talking to someone. Jamie and I both just wrote books, right?
Congratulations.
And and they're very personal. And I was talking to this person about starting my audio. I'm going back to like semantics, and it doesn't really matter. And I started to cry about the feeling of how I was going to feel reading the audio, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of going back to those things of my trauma, of my childhood. And this person said, "What, are you, a victim? Did you write this book to be a victim?" Like, what do you say to that kind of stuff? Where when we're talking about these things, like, the fawn effect mm-hmm. and stuff like that, and then other people come and shame you for like kind of, right? Like going, this is how I feel. I don't know. This is just something that just happened. So it's kind of find it completely insane, but I want to know how you feel.
It's a horribly invalidating thing to hear when you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position and sharing a story that you didn't have to. And so I'm sorry that happened, first of all. But I think that there's such a line between what we're doing is acknowledging our experiences. That is so different. That's not being a victim. Acknowledging our experiences so that we can move forward. And I have a chapter in my book on grief specifically, and I talk about that here. And I talk about it early on because I think it's so important, where I think a lot of us who are high functioning, we think, oh, I turned out fine though. Or maybe it wasn't that bad. So we shove our experiences down. Maybe we think we're being a victim if we were to talk about and process our trauma, our experiences. And I think that's often we can do that to ourselves. Other people can do that to us because it's so much easier to shove our pain down than to look at it. And so I imagine that person was probably just projecting maybe their own beliefs of they're not allowed to look at their pain, so why do you get to look at your pain? But what we're doing we're acknowledging our experiences, we're looking at it objectively, we're feeling the pain that's there, that's unprocessed, so that we can move forward with it. We're not trying to get rid of it. We're not trying to silence it. We're not trying to attach ourselves to the stories. This is me forever. I'm a people pleaser forever. We're acknowledging how this has protected us so that we can break free, have awareness of it. That's my take.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that, because it really, really hurt me. And I think sometimes that we try so hard to kind of understand our own traumas and embrace them and all of that. And then to have like someone else kind of go, no, you can't feel that.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I was saying. So thank you for answering that, Meg. I appreciate that.
Of course.
100%.
Yeah.
To piggyback on that a little bit too, because, when I looked down the list of, fawn responses, which is constantly worried about what people think, a perfectionist, an overachiever, overextending yourself, someone who avoids conflict, fearful of getting in trouble or seen as bad, like that is me 100% since I've been the ittiest bittiest girl. It feels almost like I was wired that way.
Yeah.
And so while on one hand we could be shamed from the outside for it, I've been this person, and then also at the same time have had such guilt and shame about the fact that I do react that way and have reacted that way, and had such harsh judgment on myself. And even with like some of my deepest healing work that I've done, I still bang up against the fact that I still do that. Like just last night, I left a party of women that I love and adore, but was in the car ride home thinking, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. They probably think that I'm such an idiot. She probably doesn't even like me anymore. And I'm sitting at home. I'm a 44-year-old woman that knows all these facts, but like, why am I beating myself up still about this?
Well, shame is so important to this response. Shame is such a foundational emotion because shame says, I am bad. Mm-hmm. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, as a person, I am bad. And so I often think of that there's a lot of layers to that, why we feel that. If conflict was never handled in a safe, healthy way, we learn to blame ourselves for everything to make sense of it. That's one layer. But another layer is that, we have found safety through perfection. And so we beat ourselves up as a safety mechanism because if I'm shameful about everything I do, maybe I can fix myself. And if I run through all my social interactions and I can correct it next time, and then I'll be perfect and everyone will approve of me and everyone will love me. And I have this all the time too. Like after an interaction, I'll replay something. The difference is now noticing it. And so it's not that we're trying to get rid of that shame or get rid of this part of us that's trying to protect us, but rather changing our relationship to it. So maybe that's now, okay, there's that shame again. There's that spiral story because I needed that at one point. It was helpful. And it's really, I think, a lot of my clinical work I look at through the lens of internal family systems. And so there's this part that's working really hard. Often it's a younger version of ourselves often that's coming out after the party thinking, okay, let's replay everything. Got to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And thanks for trying to protect me, but I don't need you in this situation. So that shame is okay. It's how we relate to it. I think that's the practice.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that feels like for every emotion that comes up, right? To name it. Do you think that there's also a space and a possible reason to even what if I reached out to one of my friends that was there and be like, my head is spiraling and I feel like I was do you think that bringing it, because I have done that in the past and have been met with either oh my God, you're crazy. What? That was not how anybody read it, or just compassion. Or sometimes I've even been met with a friend where she was like, oh my God, me too. I felt the same way when I left. And it just, you feel so less alone. You feel so less crazy. Is calling it out, calling yourself out a healthy way of coping?
I think it depends case by case because, yes, I think in some instances, naming it and sharing it with someone can feel really validating. And then I think it can, there's a spectrum. It can become a reassurance seeking behavior of like, was that okay? Was it okay that I did that? Was it bad that I did that? And that can put quite a strain on our relationships.
Yeah.
Both for the person doing it, but also on the receiving end. I talk about the difference between reassurance versus validation, where reassurance might be like, are you mad at me? Do I look pretty? Do you still love me? That's reassurance seeking. It's very much about the content. It's a yes or no answer. And then maybe we get the response we want. No, I'm not mad at you. Yes, I still love you. And we're like, oh, okay. And then it comes back like an hour later because we didn't actually address the underlying emotion. And so validation I view as more slowing down with the emotion beneath it. So if you're feeling distant in a friendship, let's say, maybe validation would be like, are we okay? And it's seeking reassurance. Validation would maybe say, pausing, I'm feeling kind of distant from you lately. I feel like we haven't had much one-on-one time. I just wanted to talk about that with you. That's slowing down, and it's a conversation. So whatever path you take of talking about it with the other person or not, what has to happen is pausing. What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling anxious?
Support for Messy comes from ZocDoc. I don't know about you guys, but my entire social feed is filled with different health trends, like cottage cheese is an entire nutrition plan, or you should be slamming olive oil shots first thing in the morning.
These are all wonderful things, right? But we can give the algorithm a rest. We can turn to in-real-life healthcare professionals who can help us meet our health goals. And with ZocDoc, that's easy because you can find doctors that are right for you and instantly book an appointment. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment.
With ZocDoc, you can book in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors, y'all, across every specialty from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more.
Yep, you can filter these doctors to the ones that take your insurance, the ones that are located nearby, that are a good fit for any medical need you may have. And they're also show you ones that are highly rated by verified patients. And once you find that right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings. Because let me tell you, when I got to make an appointment with a doctor on ZocDoc and not have to listen to holding music or somebody breathing or somebody putting me on hold 150 times.
That's the worst things ever.
It was a joy. I made one within less than 72 hours.
That's incredible, dude, because I can't even get into my main doctors right now. They're
exactly.
like, next September.
Well, we might have to go on ZocDoc and find a new one.
I know. So look, stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/messy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/messy. ZocDoc. You gotta say it. I can't even say it.
It's a tongue twister. ZocDoc.com/messy. ZocDoc.
Can I tell you something very funny
Always.
that keeps coming up in my mind? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt because this is such beautiful conversation. But when I was talking about this person that was saying those things to me, my other girlfriend was in the room and she kept going that she couldn't believe that I hadn't punched the person. That's all. So I'm just saying, like, how I deal with, like, maybe I technically deal with things is my friend was like, why haven't you beat her up yet? Like, what's
fight
going
response.
on here? Oh,
Yeah,
like,
there's the other response.
like punk rock, Laurel Canyon, just do something to someone. But I'm listening to all of this because that's my fight or flight is I don't go to that place of, can I know what's going on? Like, why don't they, I don't do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I go like, I'm going to come for you. Right?
Yeah.
So I go to that.
Well, that's interesting then. So for when you're on the receiving end of someone who is like that, Like if someone's asking you for reassurance, does that annoy you?
Completely.
Yeah. It puts a strain.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It can get tiring.
No, I don't like it at all. I like really get pissed off and I'm can you just fucking be yourself? Like I get really weird about that. Not with you guys, but with some. And I'm like, just like own yourself. Like I get really like own yourself. And yet I don't even know if I own myself. So what am I fighting with, right?
Sure.
It's tiring.
I find that I can get very triggered by people that are very openly insecure.
Yeah.
And I am aware that it's because I am very insecure. Like I have that awareness, yet I still get kind of irritated when people are perpetually openly insecure about things.
Right.
Because I don't know what to do for it.
Right. What you were saying, Meg, is like, you know, am I okay? Am I doing the right thing? And all this. And I get so irritated that I like lose my mind. I'm like, can you fucking, sorry, I use this word on here a lot. Can you fucking just like self-regulate and just like be a grown? But then at the same time, I'm triggered. You know, lady said that I was a victim and it actually didn't hurt me because you know what? Carolyn was right. I should have punched her out. That's how I felt. Like I was just like, we don't you talk to me like that. But that's what I'm saying. Like, how are we doing this when it's the dichotomy of those two things, right?
Yeah. I think both can be true though. I think it can be true that yes, it's a mirror into our own insecurity, or we're seeing part of ourselves in front of us and we don't like that part of ourselves, so we are judging them. That can be true. And I think can also be true that constant insecurity that's put onto others is tiring because it's asking you to do something. It's asking you to reassure them and soothe them, and you know that nothing probably will. Like they will need to, yes, you can offer reassurance, but ultimately they'll need to soothe themselves, and you can be there for them and offer space and support, but it also has to come from the other person. So it's tiring to kind of be asked to do that when you know you can't be the one to do it. And when that's happening again and again and again, it's tiring for both parties. So I think both are true.
Right. And that's what we're asking is like, okay, so we both, have we now agreed that Jamie, you and I get annoyed with others with their boohoos?
It can be,
But then what about our boohoos? And we don't know how to deal with our boohoos. You know, like I don't know how to do with, like, I'm going through like a hella shit right now. And Jamie is too. And I'm sure we all are. The world is. I don't know how to do my boohoos because I've taken care of myself my entire life, right? I don't know what I'm even asking. I think it's like I
think that you're kind of asking, like, so what do you do in that moment?
I want Montel Williams to move in with me, but that's a whole other story. And we can talk about that another time.
Well, let's address this before we get into back to like ourselves. So if we're in the receiving end of something that sort of triggers us, what can we do in that moment to sort of diffuse the situation, right? I guess we're kind of talking if we're at a place where we don't have the bandwidth to hold, to be able to constantly reassure somebody, even if it's somebody that we deeply care about. We have no choice whether they're in our lives every day, whether that's a child or a spouse or whatever it is. What can you do if you're on the receiving end of that when you honestly know that you can't take that right now? Yeah,
I think notice what your immediate script is. If your immediate script is to offer that reassurance, notice that sort of urge to do that. And I think, again, for both the person asking for reassurance, but also the person giving it, pause and give some space with that question. I think just slowing down, letting there be a beat, and maybe offering a question as well of like, oh, is something going on? Or having it be more opening on conversation so that there's an exploration of what that emotion is, as opposed to just fighting it off with with reassurance.
Yeah.
And then of course, like if it's a greater pattern in a relationship, perhaps it's more about boundary setting or having a conversation about it with them of it's really, I find myself feeling resentful if being like put in this situation. So it depends case by case, but that's where I would start.
Yeah. I want to talk about what happens with the fawn response to your physical body when we're in it. But before I do that, I just want to acknowledge, because you said something really important that I think pertains to pertains to us and a lot of our audience. You talked about that you've had clients that have struggled with disabilities, whether visible or invisible.
Yes.
And how they acknowledge the necessary fawning that they've needed to help them just sort of blend into an able-bodied
100%.
society. I mean, I hid my MS for 15 years from those even closest to me for a myriad of reasons, but like the lengths that I would go to cover up what I was dealing with for, my own peace, for other people to feel comfortable was exhausting. And I find a really common thing that a lot of people do, and I'm sure you have found as well.
And that's the fawn response hard at work, in that it's how can I blend in to feel safe? We all just want to belong. We all just want to feel part of something. And so whether you're neurodivergent and you are masking your true self in social settings, whether you have a visible physical disability and you find yourself trying to conceal it, whether it's invisible, regardless, you're editing yourself so that other people don't notice you, like you said, to prevent other people feeling uncomfortable. There's this hypervigilance of others, but also of the self happening. And sometimes we have to, of course, for safety or in whatever situation. And sometimes we are doing it all the time and it's exhausting. So the fawn response doesn't discriminate whatever identity you hold. It's just, how am I abandoning myself to keep the peace, to be liked, to be approved of all the time. And it's really tiring. Yeah.
And for those of us that physically feel the fawn response, right? Like for those with like a neurological disorder, when that kind of trigger comes into my body, I can feel it. My spasticity gets worse. My balance gets worse. You talk about the pause. Is this where that can be helpful to sort of take that sort of pause between, the emotions that you're feeling and, like you said, the reaction to that emotion? Because in that moment, it literally feels like you're stuck and at mercy of whatever physically is happening in your body.
Yeah. And remember too that, and this is survival mode. When your body is feeling that, your body is in survival mode, which it's only supposed to be in for a few minutes at a time until we've restored ourselves back to safety. But when we are, as people, we're in it a lot of the times, or we're in it for often an extended period of time. And so when our body is in survival mode, what I find helpful is, first just noticing that shift has happened. Notice that you're feeling dizzy. Notice that you're suddenly overthinking or feeling shaky or whatever the sensation may be. And I also what's important to know is when we are in this state, the mind is taking us to the future or to the past and to things that aren't necessarily happening, which reinforces that survival, because our body physiologically is responding as if it is happening. And so the power of returning to what's actually true, whether that's the feeling of your feet on the ground, whether that's looking at your palm and studying the textures and the design of it, whether it's feeling your breath, those are things that are actually real and true in this moment. And this isn't a fix for those sensations, but remember, we're not really trying to fix the anxiety or fix the shame this is here, this is happening right now, but we're instead just trying to soothe that part of ourselves. That to me is sort of the foundational practice.
And that is work to be done by yourself in those moments, or are those moments to like not necessarily like calling, like we were saying before, of like, was that okay? Was I bad? But more like, let's say we're in a situation where we are physically limited and want to keep up but can't, like, you know, asking for help, calling out the situation so you're not sort of stuck
aliens.
in your own.
It's from Aliens, Jamie.
What do you mean it's from Aliens?
It was I'm sorry. You know me.
I didn't get it.
Just aliens.
I missed it.
Just aliens coming down and helping us all out. Sorry.
Oh, I wish. Where are they?
You know, my brain just goes like explodes sometimes because it's just. I'm so sorry, Meg. Have you met me? I'm very strange.
You're not. Stop.
I love it.
This episode of Messy is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, seasonal pastries, and fresh pastas. Plus, all items conveniently bake in 25 minutes or less. Jamie, what is this about?
Okay, this is a box of joy that I get every month. I actually upgraded to 2 boxes because of the holidays that are coming.
Wait, what?
Yes, because you want me to tell you what's in my box? I've got my basic sourdough.
What's in the box, Jamie?
I've got my basic sourdough. I've got my olive oil ciabatta. I've got my croissants that literally my kitchen smells like a French bakery, and it smells like and tastes like they were just made. I've got apple pie bites for Christmas. I've got pretzel rolls. I mean, you wouldn't even believe the selection that they get. These are made with clean, simple ingredients. It is like a fresh bakery in your home. If you're hosting people, can you imagine the impression that you're going to give people with fresh baked bread on your table?
Yeah,
you need to order this box.
No, what about gift?
Gift? Yeah, give
Jamie,
somebody a box.
Maybe someone that you know, that you love. Gift them.
You can send them an e-gift card to their inbox, and Wild Grain will make a wonderful gift. I got you, Christina. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. So check it out, guys. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering our listeners $30 off your first box, plus free croissants. Yes, I say it like that. Free.
I like a croissant.
Croissant in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/messy to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissant in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/messy. That's wildgrain.com/messy, or you can use promo code MESSY at checkout. Support for Messy comes from iRestore.
The holidays are here, in case you didn't know. And listen, it's the perfect time to reset your skin and give a gift to yourself or somebody you love that goes beyond the ordinary. Enter the iRestore Illumina face mask. I've talked about this before. It's a dermatologist recommended at-home treatment with 360 medical grade LEDs. It uses red, infrared, and blue light. It targets fine lines, breakouts, sun damage, inflammation. There's no complicated routine here, you guys. You literally just pop it on while you're in bed, while you're cooking, whatever it is. There's a remote. It's 10 minutes, a couple of times a week. You are upgrading your skin. And now we're not just talking about your face. They have the Illumina neck and chest mask, okay?
Wait, what?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about your neck.
We'll talk
and
about
your
that
chest.
later. Okay.
Because if you're looking to smooth, to firm, to tighten, all those spots where aging and sun damage tends to show up first, this mask got you covered too with 230 medical grade LEDs. They've got the Renew Calming Facial Spray to go along with this, their anti-aging eye cream, a calming facial spray. iRestore really has you covered. And there are 3 wavelengths, right, for all of your skin concerns. I was talking about that. The red light, the infrared light, the blue light, all of these wavelengths are going to help with anti-aging, increasing collagen, hyperpigmentation, improved blood flow to skin. I can't wait to see what your face looks like in the new year.
And also, you can't wait to see what you look like in the mask.
That's right.
Because it's fun.
It's pretty fun.
Okay. Look, you got to give your skin the love it deserves this holiday season. iRestore is running big seasonal savings, and you can use code MESSY at iRestore.com for a little something extra on the Illumina face mask. That's code MESSY at iRestore.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Treat yourself or someone you love with glowing, healthier skin.
So how can those that are finding themselves sort of fawning and are in possibly any kind of physical or mental distress, like how can they help themselves in those moments and keep themselves safe ultimately too?
And I liking your distinction of like, when is it self-soothing? When is it becoming hyper independent of like, I'm not allowed to outsource support? And a huge, huge important piece of the work I do with clients, and I think recognizing an aspect of the healing the fawn response is the power of relational healing. We heal in relationship to other people. And I'll talk about that more in a second, but I just want to say, yes, sometimes that's outsourcing support. Sometimes it's having a conversation, calling a friend. Sometimes it's letting someone in on it. And sometimes it's, I just need to sit with myself for a second. I need some quiet, whatever your body is needing. I think that first step, regardless, can be pause, look in, what's happening right now. Because for so many of us who are stuck in the fawn response, we've had to be so hyper attuned to what's happening externally. What do they think of me? Do they like me? Did they think my joke was funny? We're constantly scanning our environment. What happens when we're doing that again and again and again for years, for decades, we completely lose connection with what's happening internally. We lose connection with our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our bodily sensations. So to even just go inward is such a huge celebration because you're already healing, you're already looking, you're already breaking the cycle of immediately seeking external approval. And then you may call a friend or you may, talk to your partner, whatever the next step may be, but that's such an empowering first step to take.
I love hearing you say that because I think that's what I'm trying to say a lot of the time when I try to explain to people that while my journey with MS has been incredibly difficult, it's also been a blessing because I do feel like it's brought me back to myself. It's literally like has physically made me pause, like made me stop, like make me look within. And I'm sure you can have the perspective from the work that you do that everybody has something in their life that could be the catalyst for that, right? To turn your pain into a purpose, which doesn't have to be grand. It could just be for your own personal healing. And I think these brain diseases are so wild and amazing is kind of too, how that like our bodies literally are constantly sending flares and signals when we are emotionally in distress.
Absolutely. And your body is processing so much more than the mind can make sense of. And so having, being soft with ourselves, taking pressure off of ourselves as much as we can, knowing that inner critic will be dissatisfied with that. But that's, remember, we have found, however that looks for you, have historically found safety through perfection and by doing more and trying harder. So it's going to feel scary if you're slowing down and having more compassion for yourself. That will feel scary,
Can I ask a question? I have a family member going through some serious issues right now. And sometimes it feels like when we get into these like ideologies and things like that it gets like a lot, right? It's a lot of questions and answers and things like that. So what could you say to someone who's just 14, who's going through something? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of words and there's a lot of terminologies and things, right? That are big because you've been doing the work. You've been doing this work, beautiful work. And I really appreciate that. But sometimes what's the simple answer, right?
I think that sentiment is the same of slowing down, pausing. And also think the power of modeling that, like it doesn't have to be a big word. It doesn't have to be a big psychological explanation. I think it is the simple stuff. It's having awareness. It's slowing down. It's taking a few deep breaths. I think we often want healing to be a bigger, more complicated thing. It becomes quite intellectual. And I actually find what's hard, I think, as a therapist and even as an author too, I'm like, oh, it's actually really simple stuff. It's doing the simple stuff again and again. And actually, a lot of what I discuss, I think, could be and is really applicable to kids, to young people too. I think I talk about creating, like, visualizing your inner critic as like a little being, whether it's their favorite cartoon character or like their favorite character from a movie, imagining that their inner critic is that being.
Like Inside Out, like one of those little
totally
emotions.
And like it's all your inner critic thoughts are coming from that being that's trying to protect you. So even doing like a visualization activity with the 14-year-old of like, what does your inner critic look like? Or
God, no, that's not going to happen, because I'm actually talking about my 14-year-old, and she has the it's about a gnat of like where she's at. So what could I say to her right now? Like, if she came in from school right now and sat down at the edge of my bed and said, I had a hard day, I'm having these feelings about so many things, like, how do I navigate that?
Oh, well, I think the question, I really always appreciate the question, do you want me to listen or do you want me to help you problem solve? I think is always a good place, because I think, of course, we're watching people we love in pain. I think our instinct is to fix it because we don't want to see them in pain.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, because she yells at me when I want to fix it.
Yeah.
But then she yells when I don't want to fix it.
Yeah.
You know, like that dichotomy of like those two things of when do we just be a sounding board and when do we be a fixing board? I don't,
But that's the great thing. Even by asking her that, you're already giving her the power, because she has a choice in that. And I think you're already showing, oh, I'm letting you tell me how to help you, because you can't read minds. No one can read minds. I also just find the power of, I'm so glad you're telling me this. I'm so glad you came to me to talk about this. But you don't need to, my point being, you don't need to anticipate her needs. Like, let her tell you her needs. And I think that's a big part of the fawn response too, is we learn, maybe I need to think about what they're thinking of me, or I need to mind read, and let people tell you what they need. Ask them what they need. It's a tough balance though, for sure.
Let me ask you, because I've had a moment with my son where I've kind of tried to be like, what do you want from me right now? Do you want me to give you advice, or do you just want to vent? And then it almost will make him more frustrated, because he's like, well, I don't know. And I'll say, okay, well, take some time to figure it out. And I think he was looking for me to figure it out for him.
Yeah.
But I ask this only because even though it might not have been, quote unquote, resolved or fleshed out in that moment, by asking that question, do you think that there's a seed planted within them to maybe have them have their own sort of thought process and understand that there could be a thought process around it? Because I think as a kid too, emotions feel so big that you don't even think there's anything to have around it.
And they won't, I don't think they will know. But even by inserting a pause, by asking a question, you're inviting in reflection for them. Do we expect teenagers to be like, wow, Mom, thank you so much for that? Of course not. Their frustration tolerance is so low, and there's so much going on. There's so much emotion. The emotions are so big. And I think being a teenager is so hard, because you're like, you feel like you're an adult, but you're not, and you don't yet have the freedom, but like it's such a challenging time. It's just so many big emotions. So I think asking those questions, but also as best as we can, it's not a perfect practice. Being that like steady figure is regulating, even if we don't see it. Like having that steadiness and groundedness ourselves is the regulation. That's the co-regulation happening. And when we can't, the power of repair. If we say something we don't mean, or we yell at them, to go back to that moment and say, I'm so sorry. I yelled at you. That wasn't your fault. That was on me. And I know for me, I never witnessed that growing up. And I think that certainly that feeds when that's happening again and again. We make sense of it by blaming ourselves, like I mentioned, where we learn like, okay, it's my fault. I made dad upset. Something's wrong with me. To be able to repair just shows, I don't need to be perfect. My parent doesn't need to be perfect. We're human. We're going to mess up sometimes. And repair really brings a lot of closeness, I think, in those relationships.
It does. And I actually think it healed a lot of me. It was probably one of the best parenting advice I ever got. Was a friend told me, it's not about the rip, Jamie, it's about the repair.
Totally.
And I've had so many moments with my children at bedtime or whatever it is where I'm like, I was not my best today. I am sorry. You didn't deserve that reaction. I can give you context as to what built up for me all day to that, but that's not your fault or your problem. And the warm feeling that I have when I ask for forgiveness, it almost feels like when you watch somebody forgive, I don't think you're going to find many moments where somebody's not going to offer forgiveness when you are just open and vulnerable and honest. And like the reciprocated effect of feeling the self-forgiveness has been, to me, the most impactful thing in my own healing journey. And like you were saying, and that only came from a relationship. It wasn't I think people don't realize that healing doesn't always have to just be this like by myself grinding thing. It's actually an interactive thing.
Totally. And it's so important. I think we're in a very individualistic society. We're like, okay, let me just go to therapy, hide in a room until I'm fixed, and then I can be in a relationship or have a good friend or whatever. And yes, self-inquiry, spending intentional time alone, that's all so important. But it's not to believe that we don't deserve, that we need to heal on our own before having a relationship is really saying, I don't deserve this until I'm perfect. Like, it's the same belief, just coming through in a different way. But to be able to heal on our own and to have a relationship and get into an occasional disagreement and to not be abandoned by the person afterward, but to be able to have counter evidence, to show our bodies that we can be in a conflict with someone, that we can be honest with someone, and that the world didn't stop turning, we're okay. It shows the body, not just tells the body, but shows the body that we can be uncomfortable and safe at the same time. We can't just heal by telling ourselves, okay, by like repeating a mantra again and again. We have to show our bodies that is possible. And that's in relationship to other people. So it's so important.
Is there work I know we were just saying it's about relationship with other people, but is there work to be done in that same vein? Like, I feel like I've had to do a lot of healing with my own body. I've had such anger, and I know you talk about resentment and being like kind of the number one emotion that you need to get to know, and like peeling back the layers of trauma, whatever you want to call it. I had such resentment and anger towards my body and what it's quote unquote done. And really trying to, like, how are ways that we can break free of that toxic relationship?
Anger is so important because I think a lot of us learn from a young age, I'm not allowed to feel this, because we only witness anger in extreme ways growing up. Our caregivers were explosive or silent treatment, or it wasn't we didn't witness it being a healthy emotion. So we learn, okay, anger is scary. I will avoid anger in others and within myself. So I'll avoid conflict and I won't be honest and all these things. And then for many of us, I think, when we felt anger, it's like, go to your room or you're not, whatever, we're punished for it. because of course our caregivers didn't know how to regulate it within themselves, of course. But I think for anger specifically, it's communicating something. All emotions are communicating something, but anger is saying something isn't right. There's a need that isn't being met of mine. So to have, I think, that self-anger, two things come up for me. Number one, there's probably so much built up anger, but the only way that the only place you're allowed to feel it is toward yourself, because you have to be perfect and you have to be good and easy. And so you can rip yourself apart, but you can't show anger externally. So it manifests as self-loathing and self-hatred and controlling the body and all of that.
Do you think that could manifest physically and cause disease?
It does. It does.
I think I'm a perfect like example of that. Well, support for Messy comes from Lola Blankets.
Can we please talk about the Lola blanket?
Let's talk about Lola Blankets.
Okay. Everybody who's listening to me, listen to my words. There isn't another blanket that you need ever on the planet.
It's true.
I got mine. It was gifted by the Lola blanket people. And
angels.
Took it out of the thing, and I was like, what is this? First of all, I was like, it's fur. Then that freaked me out. Well, guys, it's not fur.
Nope.
It's 100% faux fur.
Yeah.
It is the softest. Can you get some
I'm going to
adjectives
tell you
in
about
here?
it because, by the way, it's the number one blanket in the world. And now we're going to tell you why.
Wait, in the world now?
In the world. Because it's luxury vegan faux fur, like Christina said. It has a signature 4-way stretch that sets it apart. It's machine washable. It's double hemmed. There's no pilling. There's no shedding. And it is the most perfect gift. If you're wondering what to get somebody, get them a Lola blanket. No, everyone needs multiple, in our opinion, right?
I was going to say, get me another one, please. Because, and what's really wonderful about it is the amount of like patterns and colors and sizes that they have and price points and things of that nature. Like I had to, well, you know, Sadie stole mine when I first got it. And my sadness was unmatched. Okay?
I can imagine.
It's unmatched.
There should be a commercial just for that.
For my
People
sadness.
that are sad about losing their Lola blankets to others.
So I ordered her another one in a different pattern, and it like totally fits her aesthetic even better. So that's what I love about it. Like all the little cheetah prints and swirly prints and painty prints.
Yes, you can express yourself while you're decorating, putting your space together. They have a collaboration with Aviator Nation right now, which is a great gift for teens. They've got these like cool, bright colors. And listen, if you're not going to believe us, listen to the over 10,000 5-star reviews, and then you'll know. So give the gift of softness this holiday season with Lola blankets.
For a limited time, our listeners are getting a huge 40% off their entire order at lolablankets.com by using code MESSY at checkout. Just head to lolablankets.com and use code MESSY for 40% off. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
Just head to lolablankets.com and use code MESSY for 40% off.
Let me ask a question, like, of you, Jamie. Who told you the lie? Like, where is the lie coming from? And I think about that, like, with myself and what we're talking about. And we talked about this with Montel Williams the other day, and it was huge. It was a big fucker, right? The lie.
I don't know if it was anyone. I think I interpreted a lot of things as a personal attack, as opposed to like for example, like my mom had a very traumatic childhood, and her reminding me of my privilege in comparison to her trauma, I think she was trying to raise a grateful, good, humble human, but I took it as, oh, I don't deserve everything I have because I haven't suffered.
There you go.
I as a little girl, would pray for something to be wrong with me because
Honey, no.
that would instill that no one could not like me. Because if something was wrong with me, I was safe because nobody would be like, I hate Jamie, because it just would ensure me love, I thought.
That's like, as I'm sitting here.
That was a lie I told myself.
That I'm sitting here listening to all of this and I just keep hearing the lies.
Yeah.
Someone told a lie. They told it to Meg. They told it to Allison. They told it to Jamie. They told it to me. There was a fucking lie, man.
Yeah.
And where do we go from there, from that lie? It's big.
It is. It is big. And Jamie, to what you were saying of like that, this is why I think it's so important to view it through the lens of self-protection, of like, that lie was trying to keep you safe. Like, oh, if something's...
It's compassion, huh?
It is. It's
having
like,
if compassion for the lie.
Having compassion for the lie. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. How brilliant that a child knows to think of that. To think of, if something's wrong with me, then I'll have a reason to have suffering, or people will believe my pain, or whatever the story may be.
Or then I'll deserve whatever good I have in my life.
Or not good, right? Like that thing of like, so you get told the lie, and then are you destined to have shit in your life?
Right.
I think there's some part of me that like felt, sorry, I'm not making it about me. Sorry, I just kind
You
of...
should. This is what this is about.
You know how my brain works, James? It goes like this. It's like what's that thing? It's like the rotator thing in a thing, with the...
Oh, I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're saying.
Okay, like an old bicycle. Okay, let's just call it an old bicycle. But it goes, and I think these things, and, I was thinking, like, is that what my demise was? Is that where my hurt came from? Was my lies... was my lies. Oh, my God, my mother would kill me right now. That I just said was my lies, because she is an English major. We don't speak like that. Were they to be better, or were they our demise? The lies, right?
Well, I think like Meg was saying, I think we design them to protect us. We're actually intelligent little beings that were just trying to survive.
And how smart. Kids are so smart. I think that lens is so important, because I find that it dissolves the shame. We're like, what we see it as, what's wrong with me? Why did I have that belief? Of course you had that belief. Of course. Like how smart to have that belief. So I find that framework to be so much more sustainable. Shame does not help healing. It does not help healing any sort of pattern. It actually just keeps us stuck in it, because it further solidifies the belief that we are broken and something's horribly wrong with us as people. That feels important as a shift.
Then why the fuck did our parents do this? Like, honestly, like, why are we good? Like, I consider myself a really good parent, right? I'm correcting the wrongs.
Right? Yeah, we learn.
But why the fuck didn't they?
They probably were improvements from what they had.
Well, I think there are a lot of layers to this. And is this just to find acceptance and peace with my own parents? Probably in some ways, but I also think it's true that our parents' weaknesses become our strengths, and we take something and we improve upon them. And inevitably, when I have children, I'll mess them up in some way.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I will, and that's okay. Like they'll have something that they will say, "Oh, my mom did this," and I hope that they view me as a loving, stable parent. But inevitably, I'm going to have something, and they'll work on that. And I think that's just how consciousness evolves. I also do think, of course, we have so much more language for this. We have so much information. Therapy is more normalized and accepted. There's a lot of that as well. But it is interesting, the generational influence, like what happens in a generation,
decades. Like what were they doing, like in the 1940s and the 1950s, and how they were parenting and eating and whatever the crap they were doing. And then we get to the 70s, which is the best generation. I'm so sorry, guys, Gen X.
For sure, the coolest.
Yeah, definitely
First,
the coolest.
Basically the coolest. But how they dealt with like our dealings with life, you know? The
Well,
conversations, the verbiage is it verbiage? Is it verbiage?
Verbiage.
Oh, geez. It's okay, fine.
But they didn't have people weren't talking. I can even think, I remember when I was young and my parents were going through a struggle. And I remember as a teenage girl saying to my mom, why don't you talk about this with your friends? And my mom was like, oh my God, I would never talk about a problem going on in our house. And now it's the opposite. I mean, who I go to for everything.
They have T-shirts for it.
Yeah. But it was a different generation. It was a different way that they needed to survive, you know, and we have our own ways, like you're saying, Meg, and I'm sure my kids are going to go to therapy about me. I had a friend once tell me they're going to go to therapy if you were there for everything. They were going to go to therapy if you weren't.
Of course.
Like you're damned if you do. It's just what happens with parents and children. But I think recognizing that our parents were doing the best they could allows me at least constantly to remind myself, like, I'm doing the best I can in each moment.
And I think two things are true here. They can be doing their best, and their best can still really hurt. And I think letting those two things exist of like, sometimes I find that language of like, oh, so then I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't be upset. And no, it can be true that of course they tried their best and there's still a lot of grief and pain to be processed. Both of those things can exist. And what I find to be true of adult children that are processing childhood trauma is they're really willing to overlook a lot, to have that relationship with a parent. But it's when the parent has the information that something's hurting the child and they are still doing it. It's like, it's not what happened 20 years ago. It's that I'm telling you now that this is hurting me and you're still choosing to do it. I find that to sort of be the strain with adult children and parents.
Yeah. I feel like my mom, she doesn't acknowledge it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I look at her and go, regardless of what happened, which, you know, I can't talk about really, but she doesn't take accountability.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of a generational thing, right?
That also makes her have to face what she's done and forgive herself and acknowledge that. And that might be too painful for her, unfortunately, for you at your expense.
It explains it, but it doesn't excuse it, right? Like we can understand why they may be hurting, and it's allowed to hurt. It's allowed to bring up anger and grief and all of those things. So, you know, I really think it's allowing space for all that duality to exist.
You know, Jamie and I are really conscious parents, very conscious parents, right? So we're like, okay, we've got, you know, all the dots in the row and the puzzle pieces there, and we're fucking there, and we talk to each other, you know, and I know you have other friends too, James, but we're doing the fucking best we can, man.
Yeah.
And yet we feel like we're failing sometimes because they're hurting. And that's kind of this weird dichotomy. Like I'm using that stupid word again, but that thing of like, it just, you know what I'm talking about, James. It's like,
well, that's, I think, just comes with being a parent, right?
I know.
Like just the heavy responsibility of raising a child and wanting to keep them safe and make them good people, and don't want to pass down what you don't like about yourself or the things that you're working on. It just comes with it. But what I was going to say was the thing that comes up the most for me in therapy, and you've said it many times today, and I feel like it's something that we all constantly need a reminder of, is that two things can be true.
Yeah,
I think holding the space for what is, like the pain and what is, and all of that it's always seems to be like the answer to any fork in the road that I'm going. It's like, it's just two things can be true. You can hold the space for both of them. And sometimes that's hard to accept, but it is kind of, to me, been like the path for a lot of my healing.
Totally. And I think when we're, survival mode is black or white. Am I safe or am I not?
Right.
Are they good or am I good? Who's bad? Who's right? Who's wrong?
Right.
And yes, of course, sometimes there are instances of like objective truth in that way. But a lot of the times there's nuance, and life's messy. And, to what you both are speaking to about being a parent, like, life is going to life anyway. Even when you're the best parent ever, like, life is still hard. Being a person is still hard, and that's still going to happen. Of course, you just want to protect your kids and keep them safe from that. And I love the parent sentiment of the goal isn't, eternal happiness. It's to be able to tolerate discomfort and to navigate challenging things, because life will do that no matter what. And even being perfect, what does that mean? That'll have its own damage in some ways if you're this perfect parent. So what, you're never feeling angry, you're never sad? That would feel really scary to a kid too.
Yeah.
So might as well just do your best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadie, my daughter said to me the other day, she goes, "You're not my parent, you're my best friend."
Oh.
And here's the problem. I need to be her parent. Like, there has to be a level of respect and authority at the same time. But I do love that she says that I'm her best friend. That we spoke for like 2 hours last night about music and stuff. But then when it comes to like trying to navigate her through life and make sure that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, like go to school and do her homework, I'm kind of failing in those places. And not failing, but just like, sorry. You know what? This is my therapy session, and we're not going to.
That's a teenager.
We're going to talk about this on another day.
Well, we don't want to take up much more of your time, Meg. Before we let you go, maybe we'll just have to have you back on for a part 2 if you're willing. But
of course,
I do want to talk to you about meditation, because I think that has been life-changing for me, and I know it's been life-changing for you. And those types of practices are just so grounding and so important, and actually do make physical differences in our, in a circumstance. And so if you could just speak briefly on meditations, I think for anyone also that's just kind of like, I've heard about it, that sounds difficult. Like, what can you say to listeners about the benefits and how to kind of approach meditation, especially if it's new?
For anything new, when you have a history of trauma, or you have restlessness, agitation in your body, if you're baseline anxious, it's so important to take any of these practices in small bites. So I remember I would sit down to meditate, and I couldn't get through 2 minutes without having a pounding heartbeat, and I would get so mad at myself. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And I think I had this belief that I should be able to sit quietly for like an hour if I was, quote, good at meditation.
Right.
And here we go again, perfectionism seeping into this practice of like, of course, if I think I need to be perfect and good everywhere else, why wouldn't that seep into my healing work as well? So I just have found it to be such an important practice for seeing those feelings, seeing those thoughts from a bit of a distance. So those thoughts are still there, those emotions are still there, but I'm just able to look at them a little bit differently. And so sometimes I sit down and I'm anxious. Sometimes I sit down, I'm angry. Sometimes I sit down and I'm tired or bored. And it's not changing it. Like, it's not like my goal is to be calm every time I sit down. It's really just to notice what is there today. And like, oh, interesting. Okay, this is my palms are sweating. I feel so annoyed that I'm sitting here, whatever it may be. But starting in small increments is so important. Slowly increasing our tolerance to be able to handle that discomfort And it's such a subtle shift. It's such a slow shift. I've been meditating daily for over 10 years now.
Wow.
And I still have really hard days with it.
Yeah.
And I have so much more to learn. And it's not a practice of perfection. It's just like, I'm sure when I'm in 30 years, I'll look back and be like, I had no idea what I was talking about back then. So it's subtle. It's subtle.
Yeah.
When I started meditating 40 years ago, sorry, I made a little place, right? So you could sit and like have a little, like it's the place.
Yes.
So sit. And then all of a sudden the place is gone. And it's gone. But we were interviewing Montel Williams the other day. And my meditation game was like, I didn't leave the house without 30 minutes at least. I couldn't even drive a car if I didn't meditate. So I totally get like, listen, everybody, it's really important to kind of stop and go there. But he just went 4 in, 5 out. And it was like, and I started meditating again, James.
Yeah. So simple. That's so great.
It was like from going from 30 minutes a day to an hour a day with a whole thing with like candles and stuff to nothing.
Yeah.
To one man saying this. So thank you, Meg, for even mentioning that, because I think our listeners really need to just stop for a second.
Yeah. And it's what you're speaking to. The awareness is the practice. It's not the cushion, the candle. It's coming with you all the time when you're driving to work, feeling the sensation of your hand on the steering wheel, when you're typing, washing the dishes. It's always, we can always come into our breath. We can always come into our awareness. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's available right now, even as you're listening, taking one deep breath. We're always doing it.
Montel said 4 in, 5 out.
That's right.
We can all do that, together.
We can. We sure can.
It's also elongating the exhale is such a good life hack, where when we make our exhale longer than our inhale, we're automatically activating the parasympathetic, and we're sending safety signals to our brain and body. So it's such an important hack to do. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Meg, I could talk to you for days.
Same. Let's just stay here forever.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Meg Josephson, your book is Are You Mad at Me? I highly recommend it to anyone really. I mean, it's going to be an opportunity for you to understand yourself, have tangible tools and practices. You're worthy of healing. You can heal. Life can be better and easier. And we've done nothing wrong. Like you said, Meg, we've all just are little survivors, just trying to do the best we can. And finding self-compassion is something I'm sure many of us have felt at times was near impossible, but is truly life-changing. So thank you so much. And
thank you.
And the alien says goodbye. And I always pick a card and read it at the end of each episode. Today's card says, trials, temptations, disappointments. All these are helps instead of hindrances if one uses them rightly. They not only test the fiber of a character, but strengthen it. Every conquered temptation represents a new found of moral energy. Every trial endured and weathered in the right spirit makes a soul nobler and stronger than it was before.
Love that.
And so it is.
Thank you.
This show is executive produced by Christina Applegate, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and Allison Bresnick. Our audio engineer is Josh Windisch.
If you want to show us some love, don't forget to leave the show a rating or review. Hi, it's Jamie. Thanks for listening. I just want to let you know I am a paid spokesperson for Novartis, but this podcast is independent from my collaboration with Novartis.